A black man in basic chef whites walks into a high-end French restaurant kitchen and starts prep work quietly. To the Sous chef, he looked like an unqualified hire. To the culinary world, he was Chef Antoine Baptiste, the youngest black chef to ever earn 3 Michelin-Stars. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and a comment before we start to learn more about what happened. The kitchen at Le Bernardin Noir was a cathedral of culinary excellence, where every knife cut was precise, every sauce was perfect, and every dish that left the pass was a work of art. Located in the heart of Manhattan's Upper East Side, the restaurant had held 2 Michelin stars for 3 consecutive years, and head chef Isabella Moreau was determined to earn that elusive third star. At 6:30 a.m., the kitchen was already alive with the controlled chaos of prep work. Vegetables were being brunoise cut into perfect tiny cubes, stalks were simmering, and the morning light streaming through the high windows illuminated clouds of steam rising from multiple burners. This was the sacred hour when serious cooks transformed raw ingredients into the building blocks of culinary magic. Antoine Baptiste entered through the back door of the kitchen, carrying a worn leather knife roll and wearing the simple white chef's coat and checkered pants that marked him as just another line cook. At 38, he moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had spent 2 decades perfecting his craft. But nothing about his appearance suggested the extraordinary career that had brought him to this moment. 6 months earlier, Antoine had been running his own restaurant in Paris, Étoile Noire, an intimate 20-seat establishment that had earned 3 Michelin stars faster than any restaurant in French culinary history. But personal tragedy had brought him back to New York. His mother's illness required his presence, and he had quietly sold his restaurant to be near family. Now he was starting over, looking for a place where he could cook without the pressure of fame or recognition. Marcus Rivera noticed the new face immediately. As sous chef at Le Bernardin Noir, Marcus took pride in maintaining the kitchen's standards and ensuring that every cook understood their place in the hierarchy. At 29, he had worked his way up through some of the best kitchens in the city, and he had little patience for cooks who couldn't handle the intensity of fine dining. The man at the prep station was methodically working through a case of shallots, his knife work clean but unremarkable. To Marcus, he looked like every other inexperienced cook who wandered into high-end kitchens thinking they could handle the pressure. His technique was adequate, but Marcus could tell he lacked the lightning-fast precision that separated real professionals from culinary school graduates. "Hey, you," Marcus called out, walking over to Antoine's station. "What's your name?" Antoine looked up from his shallots, his expression calm and professional. "Antoine, I'm starting today." "Right, the new hire," Marcus said, his tone carrying the practiced authority of someone used to breaking in kitchen rookies. "Let me guess, culinary school graduate looking for your first real kitchen job." "Something like that," Antoine replied, returning his attention to his prep work. Marcus picked up one of Antoine's shallot brunoises and examined it critically. "Not bad, but your cuts aren't consistent. In a kitchen like this, consistency is everything. We're not running a neighborhood bistro here." Antoine nodded politely. "I'll work on that." "See that you do," Marcus said, satisfied that he had established the proper dynamic. "And another thing, speed. You're taking too long with those shallots. In this kitchen, time is money, and Chef Moreau doesn't tolerate slow prep work." As the morning progressed, Marcus found numerous opportunities to educate the new cook. When Antoine was making stock, Marcus criticized his seasoning technique. When Antoine was preparing herbs, Marcus questioned his knife selection. Each correction was delivered with the condescending tone of someone who believed he was mentoring an inferior. "Listen, Antoine," Marcus said during a brief lull in prep work, "I can tell you're trying, but you need to understand what kind of kitchen this is. We're pursuing our third Michelin star here. That means everything has to be perfect. Your mise en place, your timing, your attitude. If you can't keep up, there are plenty of other places that might be more your speed. Antoine paused in his work, looking at Marcus with an expression that was difficult to read. What kind of places would those be? Marcus shrugged. You know, neighborhood spots, family restaurants, maybe some of the more casual places downtown. Nothing wrong with that. Not everyone can handle fine dining. I see, Antoine said quietly, returning to his prep work. The lunch service began at 11:30, and the kitchen transformed into a precisely choreographed ballet of movement and timing. Orders came in, dishes went out, and the controlled chaos of a professional kitchen reached its peak intensity. Antoine worked his station quietly, keeping up with the pace but not standing out in any particular way. It was during the afternoon break, when the kitchen was quiet and most of the staff was taking a few minutes to rest, that head chef, Isabella Moreau, finally made her entrance. She had been in meetings all morning with restaurant management, discussing the upcoming Michelin evaluation and the preparations needed to secure their third star. Isabella was a formidable presence in the culinary world, a French chef who had trained under some of the greatest masters in Lyon and Paris before making her mark in New York. Her kitchen was her domain, and she commanded respect through both her expertise and her exacting standards. "How are we doing today?" she asked Marcus as she surveyed the prep work and checked the afternoon mise en place. "Good, chef," Marcus replied. "The new guy started today. He's adequate. Needs some work on his speed and consistency, but he might work out with some training." Isabella nodded absently. Then her gaze fell on Antoine, who was quietly organizing his station for the evening service. She froze, her eyes widening in recognition. "Mon Dieu," she whispered, then louder. "Antoine?" "Antoine Baptiste." Antoine looked up, a small smile crossing his face for the first time all day. "Hello, Isabella. It's good to see you." Marcus looked back and forth between them, confusion evident on his face. "Chef, you know him?" Isabella walked quickly over to Antoine, her professional composure replaced by genuine excitement. "Know him? Marcus, this is Chef Antoine Baptiste. He ran Étoile Noire in Paris, 3 Michelin-Stars. He's one of the most respected chefs in the world." The kitchen fell silent. Every cook, every prep chef, every dishwasher stopped what they were doing to stare at the quiet man who had been working the prep station all morning. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. 3 Michelin-Stars, he repeated weakly. "The youngest black chef to ever earn 3 stars, Isabella continued, her voice filled with admiration. "Antoine, what are you doing here? I heard you sold Étoile Noire, but I never imagined. Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" Antoine wiped his hands on his apron before responding. "I needed some time away from the spotlight. My mother is ill, and I wanted to be close to family. I was hoping to just cook for a while without the pressure." Isabella turned to Marcus, her expression now stern. "Marcus, I hope you've been treating Chef Baptiste with the respect he deserves." Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came out. The memory of every condescending comment, every correction, every suggestion about more suitable restaurants crashed down on him like a collapsing soufflé. "Actually," Antoine said, his voice still calm and professional, "Marcus has been very educational. He's taught me a lot about consistency and speed. Very helpful feedback for someone trying to learn fine dining techniques." The irony in Antoine's words was gentle but unmistakable. Marcus realized that the man he had been lecturing about knife skills had probably forgotten more about cooking than Marcus had ever learned. Isabella shook her head, looking embarrassed for her sous chef. Antoine, I am so sorry. If I had known you were starting today, I would have introduced you properly to the staff. No need for apologies, Antoine replied. Sometimes it's interesting to see how a kitchen operates when no one knows who you are. Marcus finally found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. Chef Baptiste, I didn't know. I mean, I was just trying to help. Antoine looked at him with an expression that was neither angry nor mocking, just infinitely patient. Marcus, you weren't wrong about consistency and speed being important. Those are fundamental skills in any professional kitchen. But I was teaching you basic techniques, Marcus said, his voice growing smaller with each word. And I was learning something much more valuable, Antoine replied. I was learning about assumptions, about how we judge people based on what we think we see rather than what they actually know. Isabella stepped in, sensing that Marcus was drowning in his own embarrassment. Antoine, would you be willing to work with us for evening service? I know this is just temporary for you, but having your expertise in the kitchen would be incredible. Antoine nodded. I'd be happy to help, but I'd like to continue working this station for now. Sometimes the best way to understand a kitchen is to start from the bottom. As evening service approached, word spread quickly through the restaurant. The servers whispered about the legendary chef working the prep station. The management team found excuses to walk through the kitchen to catch a glimpse of the culinary superstar who was quietly brunoising vegetables like any other line cook. But Marcus was learning the most important lesson of all. Throughout the evening service, he watched Antoine work. Really watched him this time. He saw the way Antoine's knife moved with effortless precision, cutting vegetables so uniformly they looked machine-made. He noticed how Antoine anticipated needs before orders came in, how he managed his timing to have components ready exactly when they were needed. Most importantly, Marcus saw the way Antoine treated everyone around him, with respect, patience, and the quiet authority that comes not from position, but from genuine expertise. During a brief lull between courses, Marcus approached Antoine's station. Chef Baptiste, he began, then stopped, unsure how to continue. Just Antoine is fine, the chef replied, not looking up from the delicate sauce he was preparing. I owe you an apology, Marcus said. I made assumptions about you that were completely wrong. I treated you like you didn't know what you were doing, when clearly I know exactly what I'm doing, Antoine finished with a slight smile. Marcus, we all make assumptions. The question is what we do when we realize we're wrong. I feel like an idiot, Marcus admitted. Don't, Antoine said, finally looking up from his work. Use this as a learning experience. In this business, you never know who's going to walk through your kitchen door. Treat everyone with respect, not because of who they might be, but because it's the right way to treat people. The evening service concluded with some of the best food Le Bernardin Noir had ever sent out. Antoine's subtle contributions, a perfectly balanced sauce here, a technique adjustment there, elevated every dish that passed through his station. As the kitchen was being cleaned and the staff was preparing to leave, Isabella pulled Marcus aside. What happened today, Marcus, can never happen again, she said, her voice serious but not unkind. Antoine was gracious about it, but what if it had been someone else? What if word got out that we treat people poorly based on assumptions about their background or appearance? Marcus nodded, thoroughly chastened. I understand, Chef. It won't happen again. See that it doesn't. And Marcus, take this as an opportunity to learn. Antoine will only be with us for a short time, but while he's here, pay attention. You'll learn more from working alongside him than you could from a year in any culinary school. 3 weeks later, Antoine quietly finished his time at Le Bernardin Noir. He had worked every station, shared techniques with the staff, and helped the restaurant refine several dishes that would eventually contribute to earning their third Michelin star. On his last day, Marcus approached him with a small wrapped package. "What's this?" Antoine asked. "A knife," Marcus replied. "Nothing fancy, just a good, solid knife. I wanted to give you something to remember us by and to thank you for the lessons." Antoine unwrapped the knife, examining the clean lines and balanced weight. "It's beautiful, Marcus. Thank you. I learned more from you in 3 weeks than I learned in 3 years before you got here," Marcus said. "Not just about cooking, but about treating people with respect." Antoine slipped the knife into his roll alongside his other tools. The best chefs I've ever known weren't necessarily the most talented. They were the ones who understood that a kitchen is a community, and a community only works when everyone feels valued. As Antoine left the kitchen for the last time, the staff gathered to watch him go. He waved goodbye with the same quiet dignity he had shown on his first day, when Marcus had assumed he was just another inexperienced cook looking for his first real kitchen job. 6 months later, Le Bernardin Noir earned its third Michelin star. The review specifically mentioned the elevated consistency and refined technique that had emerged in the kitchen's work. Isabella knew that Antoine's brief presence had left a lasting impact on every member of her staff. And Marcus, he never again made assumptions about a cook based on their appearance or background. He learned to see potential in every person who walked into his kitchen, because he had learned the hard way that brilliance doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just quietly brunoise shallots and waits for you to notice. In the world of professional cooking, technique can be taught, but wisdom must be earned. And sometimes the greatest lessons come from the people you least expect to be your teachers. Never judge a cook by their whites or a chef by their station. In professional kitchens, as in life, the quiet ones working in the back might just be the masters you never thought to recognize.